Imagine you've just made the worst decision of your life. You're standing in a forest. You're starving. You've been searching for food since sunrise. Then you see it. Fruit. Not hanging safely from a tree. Lying on the ground. Soft. Squishy. Almost falling apart. It smells, strange. Every instinct should be telling you, don't eat it. Even the birds aren't touching it. The monkeys walked straight past it. One squirrel takes a look and immediately changes direction. Something is clearly wrong. So naturally, you pick it up and take a bite. Now, before you judge that decision, remember something. You don't know what bacteria are. You don't know what germs are. You don't even know what the word rotten means. You're just hungry. Really, really hungry. The fruit tastes surprisingly good, sweeter than anything you've ever eaten. So you take another bite, then another. Then, about 20 minutes later, the world becomes strange. Walking suddenly feels more complicated than it did this morning. You can't stop smiling. Everything your friend says becomes hilarious. You're laughing for absolutely no reason. Congratulations, you've probably just become the first drunk human. Well, maybe not the first, because here's the twist. This story didn't actually begin with humans. It began millions of years earlier. Long before cities, long before farming, long before anyone had imagined beer, or pubs, or regrettable karaoke. Every day, ripe fruit fell from trees, and once it reached the ground, something invisible began working. Tiny organisms called yeast landed on the fruit. They ate the sugar inside it, and while they were eating, they quietly produced something else: alcohol. Nature had been making alcohol for millions of years. No recipe, no barrels, no brewery, just fruit, sugar, and microscopic organisms doing something humans wouldn't understand for a very long time. Humans didn't invent alcohol. We simply arrived late to the party, very late. But that creates an even bigger mystery. If alcohol makes you slower, clumsier, and easier for predators to catch, why would evolution ever allow animals to enjoy it? Shouldn't every creature avoid fermented fruit completely? Actually, this is where the story gets weird, because humans aren't the only animals that consume alcohol. Chimpanzees have been observed eating naturally fermented fruit. Some birds become intoxicated after eating fermented berries. And there have even been reports of elephants behaving strangely after consuming overripe fruit. Think about that for a second. Somewhere, an elephant may have woken up with a few regrets. That's a sentence I never expected to say. So what was happening? Were animals deliberately searching for alcohol? No, they were searching for sugar. Fermented fruit is usually very ripe fruit, and very ripe fruit contains plenty of sugar, which means plenty of calories. For an ancient animal, calories weren't a treat, they were survival. Alcohol wasn't the reward, sugar was. Alcohol just came free with it. Our ancestors weren't thinking, I could really use a drink. Their brains were thinking, food. And the smell of fermentation may have helped guide them toward energy-rich fruit. Alcohol had simply sneaked into the deal. But finding fermented fruit was only the beginning, because at some point, humans made an even bigger discovery. They learned how to create it again. Maybe someone left fruit inside a container. Maybe rainwater collected around it. Maybe they forgot about it for several days. Then they returned. The fruit had changed. The smell was familiar. The taste, well, interesting enough to try twice. And that second taste may have changed everything. For the first time, humans weren't simply waiting for nature to produce alcohol. They had accidentally learned how to copy the process. Later, fruit became wine, grain became beer, and much later, humans learned to make stronger drinks through distillation. What began with naturally fermented food eventually became part of ceremonies, celebrations, trade, medicine, religion, and almost certainly a few terrible decisions. So, who invented alcohol? Not a king, not a scientist, not even humans. The original inventor was nature. Humans simply discovered one of its oldest experiments, looked at it, and thought, Let's see what happens if we make more. And honestly, that may be one of the most human decisions ever made. Because if there's one thing humans have always been exceptionally good at, it's turning accidents into history. If you enjoyed learning why humans do what they do, please subscribe, like, and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.